Amazon making a play for TikTok. Did you see this news? Interesting.
And we have breaking news. Amazon making a last-minute bid to buy TikTok in the U.S. This massively popular social media app is facing a deadline later this month to separate from its Chinese owner. President Trump is meeting with Vice President Vance and other top advisors about TikTok today. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung joins us. Brian, what do we know about this?
Yeah, and a source familiar with the matter can confirm to NBC News the original report from the New York Times saying that Amazon had put in this last-minute bid to acquire all of TikTok. However, the source did stress to NBC that it was not seen as a serious bid. Again, what we're talking about here is that deadline of Saturday for TikTok to be sold by its Chinese owner, ByteDance, or else face a ban in the United States. And if this is deja vu to those that have been following the TikTok story, that's because we had the same conversation back in January, shortly after the Supreme Court upheld the law that was passed on a bipartisan basis and signed into law by former President Joe Biden that did that exact ban, basically telling them to divest or face being shut down entirely in the United States. The current president, Donald Trump, announced just as he was getting inaugurated, essentially, that he was going to effectively not enforce that law up until this deadline of this Saturday. Now you do have this scramble to try to find buyers. There have been a number of high-profile names that have thrown their names into the ring for potentially buying TikTok, like Kevin O'Leary as well as Alexis Ohanian. Now Amazon apparently part of that mix as well. To be seen whether or not any of these bids will ultimately be the one to win it all by the time we get to Saturday. But of course, a lot can happen between now and then. But a lot happening in D.C. and a lot of eyes on potentially who could be the next owner of TikTok if the Chinese government permits it, which is another wrinkle here, Jose.
Yeah, big wrinkle there. Brian Chung, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate it.
I don't think this should be debatable. Like, let's put it under U.S. ownership, for goodness sakes. Right? I mean, why are we giving all this data to China? Come on. I mean, like it's a lot of data too. By the way, I am on TikTok. You're welcome to follow me there if you're on TikTok. But like every time I go on, it's like, can we get your contacts? Can we get your contacts? And I'm like, no, you can't get my contacts. You want to actually really limit what information they have. So this is the sticking point. Will China actually agree to this? That's not really clear, but if they get out of the U.S. market, it's going to be a big hit. It's also going to be a big hit to some of the U.S. investors there that have invested in ByteDance, including Susquehanna, KKR, General Atlantic, some of the big sort of private equity companies that have taken stakes in this company. But again, this deadline is coming up on Saturday. There's 170 million users here in the US. It's amazing that this thing got so big as quickly as it did. And I'll tell you that it's actually, in and of itself, you want to talk about, let me just say, like, I'm not a huge fan of TikTok because I'm always in the doghouse there every other day. I did something on the Clinton Global Foundation just a couple weeks ago. Ooh, that thing kept coming back and coming back and coming back as a violation of community standards. And I'm like, why exactly? All I did was talk about how much money they made. And it seemed kind of weird that she was Secretary of State and her husband was running this massive charity organization that was taking in all this money. How is that like a violation of community standards? How is that hate speech? I don't get it. Anyway, that's TikTok for you. So take TikTok with a grain of salt. I'm not really going to miss it if they're gone, I'll be honest. But, I should say that like 140 million other people apparently would, because they're really into TikTok. And Kevin O'Leary has talked about it as being important for small businesses. I don't know. I'm over there because I have this belief that at some point it will get bought by a U.S. company. And when it does, it'll be a little bit more fun.